Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. The start of the day was on a positive note. When I was driving to work, I managed to avoid the usual morning traffic, and to my delight, the parking spot was conveniently located right by the entrance. About an hour after I arrived, my secretary Natalie popped into my office to let me know that Tom Snelling was on the second line, waiting for me. Answering the call, I greeted him and listened as he informed me that after careful consideration, he was ready to sign the contract. This was a contract I had been pursuing for nearly 3 months, a contract worth over $5 million for our company. During our conversation, Tom told me that he had sent the signed contract via fax. I expressed my gratitude, and as soon as he hung up, I headed for the fax machine. Sure enough, the contract was already waiting for me. Taking the documents in hand, I made my way to Barry's office. He's my boss and the owner of the company, so I asked his secretary if he had a moment to spare. Confirming that he was free, I entered his office, ready to share the good news. I handed him the contract, and he smiled as he glanced at it. Not believing that I would be able to achieve this, he remarked that several other employees had unsuccessfully tried to do the same. But Barry smirked and noted that my bonus from this deal would be quite substantial, then added that it was time for me to get back to my duties. Closer to 10 o'clock, Stella, the boss's secretary, called and informed me that Barry urgently needed to see me. As I crossed the threshold of his office, I began to sit down, but he asked me not to bother, assuring me that I wouldn't be staying long enough to get comfortable. He then announced that as of noon today, I would be the new vice president of sales. As one of my first duties as vice president, I would need to fly to Texas to resolve some issues with Mike Thomas, one of our key clients. Mentioning that Stella had all the necessary details, he sent me on my way. After approaching Stella to pick up the documents, she offered to help organize the trip, but I politely declined, saying I could handle it myself. I returned to my office and tried to call my wife, Terry, to share the good news with her, but I found that she wasn't at work, so I left a message asking her to call me back. As I left home to pack for the trip, I noticed Terry's car parked outside. This seemed rather odd to me, but I parked behind her car. As soon as I stepped through the door, I felt something was wrong. Her voice echoed from the rooms, urging someone to hurry up. Gripped by curiosity and fear, I headed to the bedroom where I found Randall Cunningham, her boss, in bed with my wife. They were so engrossed in what they were doing that they didn't even notice me standing at the door. The noise they made drowned out the sound of my phone as I took pictures. Quickly reviewing the photos, I made sure I had clear shots of both their faces before quietly leaving the house. The drive back to the firm took about 30 minutes. Upon arrival, I asked the receptionist if I could see Bart Sampson. Bart and I had a friendly relationship, and he stood up to greet me, extending his hand as I entered his office. "Good to see you, Rob," he said. "Did you come by to invite Terry to lunch? But you're too late. She's not at home." "I have information about where she is and with whom," I replied, pulling out my phone to show him the pictures. "Tell me, when exactly did you take these photos?" "About 30 minutes ago." "And where were they taken?" "On my bed. They didn't even see me taking the pictures. They were supposed to be having lunch with one of our clients." He looked through the files on his desk, read me a number, and asked, "Is this Terry's mobile number?" I nodded in agreement, and he picked up the phone to call. We waited, and eventually the call was answered. "Terry, your husband is in my office, and he just showed me some very inappropriate photos of you with Randall, which he took about 30 minutes ago. You both need to return here, collect your personal belongings, and head to HR to receive your final paycheck. You both need to be out of this building by 5 o'clock. There was a brief silence before he continued. "No need, Terry. There's nothing to discuss. Goodbye." He hung up the phone and, turning to me, said, "I'm sorry, Rob, but I had no idea there was anything between them. So what are your plans? Will you divorce her? What I mean is, how will this affect your relationship with my company?" "None. If you have a policy against their actions and you had to enforce it, it's clear to me that you were as unaware of their activities as I was. I just regret that I won't be seeing you at corporate events and meetings anymore. Finally, I stood up, we shook hands, and I started to leave. But before I could reach the door, he called out to me, "One more thing, before you meet with a lawyer." I turned to face him. "I've never done business with your company before because your wife worked there, and I was always concerned about a potential conflict of interest. Now that Terry no longer works here, give me a call next week, okay?" In response, I smiled and said, "I will definitely call." With that, I left to find a store where I could buy everything I needed for my trip to Texas. I didn't even have to seek revenge on Terry. She lost her job, her home, my wealth, and a reliable husband who had dedicated his life to her. But she traded it all, and 35 years of marriage, for an affair with her boss. It's a shame I didn't realize sooner that I was wasting my life on an ungrateful woman. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.